the deacon himself on the morning crossfire, and to you who stayed on all the way till What's Happening Abuja with Gabriel Spector, and also hung on for the conversation with Amazing on the sunny side. My name is Somi, that's Somi, short for Apena Somi, and I will be your cruise captain, if you want to call this a cruise, this hot afternoon on Hardfacts from now up until 7 p.m. hopefully, and the weather has cooled down and you have as well. All right. You know that today's Thursday, so once we're done with the big three, we get into the sound bites. So ideally, we should be getting into sound bites, but I have guests who are going to be joining me from the bottom of the hour, 4:30 to 5 p.m., after which we'll get onto the conversation about the citizens' mandate. And yes, we have been proceeding quite nicely and quite delicately, but we get into action mode on the conversation on Citizens' Mandate this afternoon, because we're going to be looking at the ward level and doing an audit of your ward. All right, we've got guests who are going to join us at that time. Audit of your ward. All right, we've got guests who are going to join us at that time, taking us all the way to 6 p.m. when we hand the mic back to you and we get to do report and situation update. Your day has been off to a great start. I hope that everything is going on quite nicely. Hopefully nothing has upturned your day and made you just sort of out of place. I kind of wanted to have something like that earlier on, but God passed them. All right. So yes, we'll start off with the big three this afternoon. First story in the news is that of the National Human Rights Commission demanding an explanation from the Nigerian Air Force over recent military airstrikes that killed civilians in different parts of the country, warning that this incidents raise serious human rights and humanitarian concerns. I mentioned it just in passing yesterday concerning, was it Tumfa? Yes, in Zamfara State. Well, Premium Times has it that 3 recent airstrikes by the Nigerian Air Force, which have resulted in civilian casualties, have happened across the northeast, the northwest, and north central. In April, a Nigerian Air Force airstrike killed unspecified numbers of civilians in a precision airstrike. Terrorists reportedly killed more than 100 across 2 states, Niger and Zamfara states. In all of this, the military and the state governments have disputed these reports, insisting that only terrorists were killed. However, locals have expressed anger and the military has to say, specifically as it has to do with the Zamfara strike. The defense headquarters dismissed reports alleging civilian casualties following an air-land operation conducted by troops of the Joint Task Force Northwest, Operation Fansanyama in Zamfara State. The operation carried out on the 10th of May reportedly targeted a gathering of terrorist leaders at Tumfa village in Shinkafi local government area. In a statement by the Defense Operations, Major General Monocha on X, and cited by Punch Online on Thursday, the military said the strike was based on credible intelligence gathered from multiple sources. The operation targeted a confirmed high-level gathering of terrorist ringleaders, a location verified intelligence as a coordination point for planned attacks. This is according to the statement put out by the defense. They explained that the mission was an air and interdiction strike, noting that such operations do not allow for immediate ground-level confirmation of casualty figures, the nature of which does not permit an immediate and precise ground-level enumeration of casualties, according to the statement. They said reports circulating in the media regarding casualty figures were unverified and should be disregarded. According to the DHQ, a post-operation assessment indicated that several terrorists were neutralized, and they also rejected the allegations of civilian casualties, insisting that no credible evidence had been established. We'll come back to the Human Rights Commission, which issued a statement yesterday. The Executive Secretary, Tony Ojukwu, described the repeated reports of civilian casualties from aerial bombardments as deeply troubling and incompatible with established human rights and humanitarian law standards. So Ojukwu said that although combating insurgency, banditry and other security threats remain a legitimate responsibility of the Nigerian state, military operations must be conducted in line with the Nigerian constitution, international human rights obligations and humanitarian law principles. According to him, repeated reports of civilian deaths and injuries involving women, children, and other vulnerable persons raise serious concerns regarding the protection of right to life, human dignity, and the obligation of state actors to exercise precaution and proportionality during security operations. And so they're calling on the Nigerian Air Force to provide a comprehensive explanation regarding the circumstances surrounding these incidents and the measures being taken to prevent further loss of innocent Nigerian lives. Recent mishaps cite Niger, Yobe, Zamfara. All of these areas, hundreds of lives reported, but the Nigerian military is denying reports of civilian casualties, especially as it has to do with the Zamfara case. When the Jili incident happened, if I recall, there was the initial coming out to deny it as well, and they did promise that an investigation was going to go on. It is not clear at this time whether results have, or rather the investigations have yielded any reports concerning the Jili incident, but you take a look at the situation whenever it happens, and the first people who cry out to say that there are civilian casualties are usually community members in the state. So it's now becoming a case more often, as we're seeing this happen with more regularity, of somebody, one person's word against the other, one person's word against the other. Will the community members within these communities come out and be crying foul if their members were not killed? Or is it a case of actually these people being so embedded within the communities that the people that the Nigerian Air Force and the Army are labeling as terrorists are actually verified community members, and you cannot separate them? How do we prevent these things from continuing to happen? Because it's more often than not at this point. Too many of these things happening, too many of these incidents, and the typical case of he said this, she said, he said, she said, and the denials. Whose word do we take? Can we actually place a number on the people who are being killed from the point of from the military, who are saying terrorist leaders? Perhaps they have information regarding how many of those terrorist leaders, and when they do go back and conduct a post-assessment analysis or investigation or whatever, they can really and truly determine that it is those terrorists that they had targeted that were killed. Or was this just a case of in war there are casualties and the collateral damage and nothing can be done, because this is happening way too often? Let's take a few thoughts on it very quickly before the commercial. If you'd like to say a word or two, it's 0809-597-4869, and on WhatsApp 0809-993-0137. National Human Rights Commission stating that national security objectives and human rights protection are not mutually exclusive, and that more should be done to ensure that humans, innocent civilians, are not caught up in this. How do we bridge the gap with this? Because it's happening one too many times. Good afternoon. Hello? Is anybody there? Okay, might want to call back. Again, it's 0809-597-4869, and on WhatsApp 0809-993-0137. Good afternoon. Hello? Is this me? Hello? Okay, let's try another line. Good afternoon.
Hello?
Welcome.
Yeah, so good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Yes. To me, honestly, the Air Force, they are trying, but their best is not giving results. You know why I say so?
Go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead, please. Yes.
You see, the first thing is they have to, what they call, olden days, they have CID. The CID will come in a community like this, pretend, even sometimes behave like they are one of those criminals. You understand? Our security all of them are into money, 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 money. Nobody is ready to fight a holistic fight. This effort, before they go there, Nigerian government or the army or the Air Force have to say what they call that is a secret investigation to fish all those people out. Sometimes behave like the same terrorists. You understand? What they are eating, throw them eat. What they are taking, throw them take. You understand? Before you know, I'm telling you, all these things will be fished out. And make sure that those people who is sympathize to them, or other people who is supporting them, you will know that they will bring everything to the table. Come to the right table of all those security advisors, how to follow it. They will clear all of them. The people that sympathize to them, or the people are giving them information, they will be just clear all of them.
All right.
You understand?
Yeah.
The failure of this is the failure because today are not supporting any innocent.
All right.
Innocent people that killed in the name of fighting terrorists.
Okay.
Because Nigeria
I mean, your network is making it hard enough, and I did indicate that it was time for you to end the call. So let's take a quick break. We'll come back and take more calls. Stay with us.
It's okay. That is okay. It's okay. No, it's okay. Let me explain. It's okay. It's okay. She. Off your mic.
On 95.1 Nigeria Info.
Your mic is always on. Let's talk.
They say they are civilians. But how? Can they prove it? We don't even have a suffering Nigeria. Feeding Nigeria, going villages, born highway, born churches, born mosque, born school. And if our soldiers have opportunity to kill them, they say that they are civilians, this and that. Can they prove that? Let us give kudos to our soldiers. They are doing better than peace. Have a nice adventure. I'll call back.
All right. Thank you, Okwi, for that. I mean, nobody's saying they're not doing a good job here, but international human law, for example, requires the principle of distinction between combatants and civilians. And if you look at recent data that suggests hundreds of civilians have been killed in accidental airstrikes since 2017, the history of what has happened over the years makes the Human Rights Commission's skepticism and demand for accountability more than just a formality. It is a push against a perceived culture of denial. So by all means, of course, they're doing what they're doing. They've hinged some of their dismissals of these civilian casualties on the success of Operation Fasan Yama. But does that mean that hundreds of lives will be lost? It's also a point of conversation for us to try and understand, is this the cost of war? So that or let me put it this way, is this the cost of war against terrorism, so that you know that if it touches you, you know that you are okay with it, you're good with it, because the Nigerian military have to do what they have to do. So there are all of these angles to the conversation. So it's important that, as difficult as it is for us to be talking about this, because we want our military men to succeed, we also need to ensure that there are all the angles are covered and innocent civilians are not being caught up in the crossfire. So yes, the DHQ has denied civilian casualties. NHRC, that's the Human Rights Commission, is saying, do a thorough investigation and come back to us with a clear report to show that really and truly nobody's caught up in this. And you also need to understand, they talked about this interdiction strike. This is the kind of strike that does not allow for immediate ground level enumeration. So you can understand that there may be a vacuum or a gap where the locals are coming out with their report and then the official narratives are coming out as well, and then they're diverging sharply. But must we have these conversations? Absolutely. I think we should still. It's to balance it out. Good afternoon. Okay, do call me back. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, CJ calling back. The advertise cut out.
All right. 30 seconds, please, because you spoke for a while earlier on.
Yeah, CJ. Sorry. This insecurity, this mistake they are making. So let me tell you the truth, and the whole Nigeria will know. If Nigeria doesn't do like a country like South Africa, Israel, I'm telling you, Nigeria was facing this insecurity problem. What they did, they walked away from France and Britain. The major problem of Nigeria in this economic quagmire and insecurity and everything we are suffering now is because of too much influence from France and Britain.
CJ, there's something really wrong with your network. Apologies, please. Good afternoon. Hello? Good afternoon. Welcome.
Yes, this is Gerald.
Welcome, Gerald.
Okay, so on this particular issue, I am one that is all for protection of civilians. I can't imagine an innocent, struggling Nigerian being killed by the military, even if mistakenly. If it's mistaken, if it's a mistake, I am all for all the pressure being put on our Air Force to ensure that even though they are going now to lay down their life to protect us, they should be more careful. I mean, it is defeatist for us all as a nation that you are going out to protect us, but then you end up killing us. However, on this particular issue, I ask this question. The governor of Borno State, a man who has literally laid his life down, he's risking his life, he could have long died, but he doesn't mind, has come out to say that his people he loves, he's out to protect, he's risking his life for, that actually that market was banned because it is a terrorist hub.
You're talking about the Gili incident in April. We're talking about the Zamfara.
Gili specifically.
Okay.
I am talking generally now. I'm using the Gili as example, as an a point of contact. Now I'm quickly saying, before my time is up, I'm saying the governor, for instance, came out and said that place, terrorists, that's where they use. A young man was arrested. He testified that that is their hub, and yet people went there trading. And when the military got information and acted, human rights arose from international communities. I have no problem against that. I started by saying I am all for anything that will make our military better, efforts more precise, protecting Nigerians and dealing with the bad guys. But I know where to stand now. If the government is saying, if the military is saying, if governors are saying, elected representatives, Senate, House of Local Government, they are saying that we are doing this right, I will stand with them unless any clear-cut, irrefutable evidence comes out to the contrary.
Okay.
I do not think, and that's my parting shot, I do not think that Nigerian military will come out and deliberately go and kill civilians.
Okay.
I don't think so. Good afternoon.
All right, then. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Oh, dear, do call back. All right, let's take a few messages and then we will move on to the next story. Is this for me? I don't think it is. All right, we've got a voice note.
Good afternoon. This is Stanley T from you saying good afternoon to you, Somi.
Good afternoon.
Listeners and contributors. The military is denying the killing of civilians in their airstrike. So if the military is denying the killings of civilians that have gone viral, who orchestrated that news? Who cooked that news? That means it's a lie. So who cooked that lie? They should find out the person. They should find out the source of that news and get the body or the person arrested. I think that is what should be the next line of action. If they believe that, okay, that news was a malicious one and it was a lie and was cooked by somebody or by an entity, then let the needful be done. Because when you are giving such information and it's going viral, it can lead to something unprecedented before corrections or amendment can be made. You understand? So I expect that from the military.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Because everybody believes that military right now, they have killed civilians, innocent civilians. So if it is a lie, then let the needful be done. Get someone arrested. Let somebody be arrested. Thank you.
Well, as far as the reports and where they emanated from, first of all, 2 residents spoke to Premium Times, sort of giving a feedback on what happened. And as that when they were speaking to the newspaper, they said no one had ascertained the number of those killed or injured during the airstrikes, but they included both terrorist and civilian residents. This airstrike happened on a domestic animal market in Tunfa village of Zurmi in Zamfara state. Tunfa is an agrarian economy community. It's on the Nigerian border with the Niger Republic, and its market is patronized by people from the neighboring country, as well as Zamfara and Katsina states, especially from Shinkafi and Jibia. On Sunday at around 12:37 p.m., residents said that the military jet hovered over the village for a few minutes before dropping bombs on the market located outside the community. Despite evidence of civilian casualties as gathered by Premium Times, the Zamfara state government and the Defense HQ insist that only terrorists were killed by the bombs. One of the residents of the community speaking said 3 people who he knew lost their lives, 2 others were injured, all from his community. And these are people speaking to the news reporters, and so that's where these reports came from. It was Amnesty International that first of all broke the news that about 100 people were killed, and the National Human Rights Commission is following up with that, while the the Air Force is saying there were no civilian casualties. I personally think that there are quite a number of gaps that can make for this kind of situation to persist, especially in this case of Zamfara, Tunfa market. I think that there are a number of issues. One, it is the kind of strike that was conducted and the timeline that it would require before the Nigerian Army is supposed to make their own, is able to make their own verification and carry out the assessment on the place where the strike was done. I also think that there is still that inherent problem of, so take for instance, look at the location of this market, right? A lot of these markets that that at the borders of these towns or these communities, there's no way that they will not be mixed up with these criminal elements, knowingly or unknowingly. And so it creates a bit of a tricky situation, perhaps, that will make this investigation, I think, that the Human Rights Commission is calling for very, very important. That's not to say that the Nigerian military didn't go and do their findings, but again, what was the intel that they had, and could they confirm that that intel was completely, what they call it now, completely bereft? That's not the word, but I don't know if you get what I'm saying. They had a list, they had a gathering, they had intel about the gathering that was happening. It was happening in the market where, of course, there are going to be, mix up between terrorists and innocent elements. Again, it is important that beyond the denials, right? Because there is a history of this with the Nigerian military. And that's not putting any doubt on what it is that they're doing. But it's also so important that perhaps in some of these instances, if there needs to be some way to vacate the innocent, then they are vacated. Because it's so difficult to say in the market that you would not have a mix-up of civilians and criminal elements. So what NHRC is calling for is an investigation. I don't think it's too much to call for. It's possible that between when they carried out the strike and when they went on ground to confirm, there may have been 1 or 2. Figures and casualty amounts still shady at this point in time, so I'm not going to, weigh heavily on them. the figures that I gave are concerning from 2017 till now. That's a lot of people, right? A lot of civilians caught up in this. And so there must be a way to balance it out. That's all. We will come back to this conversation when we open up the phone lines. But just a quick update on what is happening with the blogger. No, that's not a blogger, the activist in Abuja who was supposed to have his bail hearing happen today. I'm sure many of us are familiar with the Justice Crack story. Yes, Justice Crack, an Abuja blogger who, I keep calling him a blogger, an Abuja activist who at some point was chronicling or posting about what was happening within the Nigerian military. And at the end of the day, he was picked up by the military, detained, moved over to the DSS office, and is currently supposed to be in court for bail. In fact, he was in court this morning for the hearing on his bail application. And this happened today after the activists, the likes of Randy Peter, that's Peter for Nigeria, and a host of others had gotten involved in the situation to say that the date that was given for his bail hearing was too far out. I think it was for the last couple of days in May or so. And so they pushed and made a case for his bail hearing to be heard earlier, and then it was scheduled for today. And I remember watching a video, seeing him in courts and thinking, okay, well, at least the work and the voices of Nigerians have been heard. And so he's going to be able to get his hearing done. Of course, the hope for many of the activists who were pushing for his case to be heard earlier was that he will be freed, because they said that the charges were rather frivolous. He didn't commit any crime at all. Well, it turns out that at the hearing of the activist, which happened today, it got stalled. It wasn't because of the judge, or it wasn't because of, the plaintiffs who brought the case against him. Is that the word? Yes, the plaintiffs who brought the case against him. But this time around, his bail hearing was stalled because of a disagreement among members of his own legal team who were over who would lead the defense for Justice Crack's case. The development forced the withdrawal of an earlier bail application filed on behalf of the activists, prompting the courts to then adjourn the matter again till Monday 18th for the hearing of a fresh application. Speaking with journalists after proceedings, counsel to the activist Femi Balogun accused another lawyer in the defense team, Marshal Abubakar, of frustrating the bail process after being prevented from leading the case. Balogun said he was directed by the family of the activist to take charge of the matter because he was a senior at the bar. According to him, Abubakar, who filed the original bail application, insisted on leading the defense despite the presence of senior lawyers. And so at the end of the day, Marshall, that's the person in court with whom Balogun was, going back and forth with, eventually withdrew his own bail application because he was not allowed to lead the proceedings. There we go. So Balogun speaking said that today the matter was supposed to be for the hearing of the bail application. However, I was directed by the family to lead in respect of the matter for today. I was with Marshall at the last court sitting, but Marshall is my junior. I am a senior at the bar. There were some other senior counsels at the last time, but he insisted on leading everyone, despite the fact that in law there is seniority at the bar. But today, he said, I insisted that I had to lead based on the fact that the family has directed me to lead. But Marshall, in his vindictive way, this is Balogun speaking, applied to strike out the bail application on the basis that he is not leading, which is unfair. So as a matter of, I'm the senior, so I should lead. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know how this plays out or if it has much of a consequence who leads the council. But one thing is clear: Justice Crack will have to spend another weekend in detention again until Monday before the fresh bail application that will be, filed for him will now be heard. He described the decision as contrary to the interests of justice. This is Balogun speaking, arguing that disagreements among lawyers should not prevent the defendant from pursuing his liberty. Marshal Abubakar, of course, gave his own different account of events, insisting that he merely complied with the court's directive after another lawyer suddenly announced his appearance in the matter. Yeah, so this is what is happening concerning Justice Crack. Disagreement within his own legal team. Abubakar said that Justice Crack's wife had reached out to him personally and he was handling the case pro bono. And so he felt the need to take charge of it. But now there's another lawyer, so he is, stepping out of the case as it seems. And there we go. Another weekend, another unfortunate period in detention for Justice Crack. Justice Crack actually was arraigned on charges set to border on cyber-related offences. One of the charges against him read that you, Chidebere Justice Mark, adult male of plot 887 Lupe, and so on and so forth, within the jurisdiction of the Honorable Court, did circulate information to the public through a social media handle regarding alleged inadequate feeding of Nigerian Army personnel, which the said information to be false, but posted it for the purpose of causing annoyance, ill will, and hatred, especially among the citizens who hold divergent views, and thereby committed an offense contrary to and punishable under Section 24(1) of the Cybercrimes Prohibition, Prevention, and so on Act as amended. Let's take your calls on this. This is the unfortunate situation concerning the young man who many thought and fought for that would get out of detention today, but he's having to spend another weekend, and it's a matter of seniority at the bar. 0809-597-4869 and on WhatsApp 0809-993-0137. Good afternoon. Hello?
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, please.
Yeah, on the first topic or issues.
Yes.
Concerning human rights commissions. See, human rights commissions are not being factual and sincere as far as this issue is concerned. And from the look of things, they don't want this terrorism to end in Nigeria.
Who doesn't want terrorism to end?
Hello?
Who doesn't want terrorism to end?
See, human rights commissions, why is it that each time the army strike these terrorists, they will come out to give us all kinds of fallacies and misleading statements? See, my sister, we don't need to deceive ourselves. Those people killed are terrorists. They are terrorists. And I'm fully in support of the Nigerian armies and Nigerian Air Force. They should go after those criminals and bring them down. Why is it that each time the army strike those people, you begin to hear these people are not terrorists, these people are innocent people, these are people, these are collaborators. From the state government, we have been told that those people are not innocent, they are terrorists. So why are we deceiving ourselves? We should just move on. The Nigerian army should continue their onslaught on those criminals. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon. Listen.
Go ahead, please.
Somi?
Yes, sir.
Justice Craft. It should serve as a very big lesson to some of us have been posting on social media.
Mr. Essien, your network is not very clear.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I am commenting on Justice Crack issue. It should serve as a very big lesson to many people posting on social media. Because we have data, because we have internet available. So there are some things that you need to personally verify before you send it out there. That's why on newspaper headline in Nigerian Info, they will always warn you, this is just newspaper headline. Go ahead and read it before you take it so personal. Or before you put out other news out there. So Justice Crack, his own personal investigation before posting it out to avoid this drama that he has put himself into. Now he's facing it himself. Let's leave the crowd going out every day protesting on his behalf. Some of those things are for their own personal traffic that they are trying to create via their pages. So we should just learn from this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hello? Hello? All right, then. Let's take some messages. The lies that civilian casualties were involved in the aerial bombing of the village in Zamfara, since it was marked by government as a terrorist hub for trade. It's a similar tactic being used when General Ihejirika during the period of GG was annihilating Boko Haram terrorists in the northeast. But President Buhari then was shouting blue murder that their brothers/terrorists were being killed. Let me from Asokoro with that one. Meanwhile, Ibrahim from Central Area says, for the record, I'm from Katsina. I can authoritatively tell you that the market in question is completely owned by terrorists, and all killed there are all terrorists, no exception. I repeat again emphatically, whoever was killed there is a terrorist. I even have a neighbor whose cousin was among the victims, told me point blank that his cousin is a terrorist. So forget human rights, whatever. This is Ibrahim from Central Area with that one. Good afternoon, Somi. Let me first put you right by calling it different parts of war zone and not different parts of the country, because all the states where it happens are at war. Of course, there are no NAF airstrikes in South, South or Southwest. Also, I would blame the civilians for abating insurgency and banditry, either by their deliberate refusal to evacuate those locations being used as launch pads by the terrorists, or doing various businesses like logistics supply and intelligence gathering for them. We should stop all the shout of civilian casualties. Are troops not suffering casualties? Have we not read reports of members of the civilians who sell out the troops? We cannot continue to stand on the opposite side of the military all the time. There are humans who deserve our support. If you're not a terrorist, leave the zone and seek IDP camp elsewhere. Rain comes down and doesn't select terrorists from civilians. Israel with that one. Antisumi, good afternoon. The internet recruitment has reduced our security to zero. To make it more difficult, the innocent people accepted the terrorists and harbor them. Chimezie Nwafo from Gwagwalada with that message. Okay. I see a voice note here, but it's 2 minutes long. I will not be able to get into it. So yes, 2 stories down. Let's take a few more thoughts on it before we got the commercials, and then we will take the third one after the news. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Auntie Somi.
Welcome, sir.
Okay, I'm Olatunji calling from Kubwa.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, you see, I want to say this kind of allegation is a form of what the government just complained about the cyber information, like disinformating the society. See, I want to say, for example, let the community people that say, and let there be investigation. Have they lost any relatives in the community? And I want to say again, there is no way the military can give information that the militants or these bandit people will not have it and run away. So let's, for example, from the investigation, the market side, anybody that is marketing around there must be 1 or 2 influenced with the bandit people. There is no doubt in investigation. You understand? So I think coming out to say there is casualty, I want to against it, because see, there is nothing you can be doing around that axis, and the military also will have done their investigation thoroughly. So this is a form of disinformating the environment. Let there be investigation. Any community that comes, that means the community people must have been a tool to help the military, since they are saying that there is casualty. So I think there should be nobody around that premises. So I don't think there is really a casualty. This is a kind of like cyber disinformation we are talking about. We should not be accusing the military all the time. We should be happy for bringing out their victims. There is no way they will talk with the community, and these bandit people will not have it. These people are coming out to defend that there is casualty. So there is no way that the military will come out and say, "You people live here." That means people are interacting with them. Any market around there, and I think that in the first place, the information disseminates that, okay, this place, because I believe the military, apart from the trust that we are losing about them,
okay,
there will be a thorough investigation they will have done already. So we should just praise this military, and this is part of why this insurgency continues, because there is no trust. You understand?
All right, then.
I've been discussing all this. Why? I don't know what happened to MTN. Thank you, ma.
All right, thank you, Mr. Olatunji. Mr. Musa, a resident within the community, speaking to the news reporters, said that he used to patronize the Tumfa market before the security situation worsened. He was one of the people who identified that he lost people, Lawali Hanazua and Miriam Anarua. Miriam, he said, was a teenager who sold cooked food in the market. When asked if indeed terrorists ran or attended the animal market, he said most communities in the northern axis of Zurmi are under the control of the terrorists, as the terrorists also patronize the market. He said this is something that everyone knows, but several residents also go there to buy and sell because they don't have other options, since the government has failed to address the security situation. They say they go into our towns and conduct business. Since we don't have guns or the power to fight them, what do we do? Well, one of the listeners says everybody should vacate those areas if they know that the terrorists patronize them. And so basically what you're saying is that the market and every other market along that axis, people should vacate them and go to other IDP camps. I think it was Israel that made that suggestion. All right. Do we have room for one more call? Maybe just one more before the news. Good afternoon. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Yes, welcome.
My name is Ifeanyi, calling from Cuba.
All right, so you have a minute.
The truth about fighting this insecurity is something that the villagers too accomplish it. You know that in as much as the government is trying to make the place safe for them, you find a situation where they are the same people who give the terrorists information about military movement. They are the same people who force. And, you know, the point is a hydra-headed issue, but the point is that if the villagers in those places actually know that government is working, if at all government is working to protect them, they will behave otherwise. You see, the people are helpless, like the last caller, the last message said. They are helpless. But they are not helping matters. Because the terrorists, they have their brothers among the terrorists. They are sympathizers with the terrorists. If anything happens, they are big brothers in Abuja who are sponsors of the terrorists, who will be the ones shouting that everybody killed were civilians, they were not terrorists. We just have to be telling ourselves the truth. When America came here on the 25th of December and threw the missile, the whole thing, some people said they landed in the bush. But they knew that there were terrorists there. So why are we hiding these things and putting ourselves in this difficult situation?
All right.
We really need to examine ourselves and know whether we need a peaceful country or we'll continue. God bless Nigeria.
All right, then. Thank you very much. Let's take that breather. When we come back after the news at the top of the hour, we'll take the final story and then open up the phone lines once again to you and your comments. Stay with us.
Your attention, please.
The news, information, and the right conversation are here on Nigeria Info.
How many this type of wicked attack has affected in the other part of this country? So that was the
came out to reject civilian casualty claims in the Zamfara strike specifically. And then we also looked at the situation with Justice Crack, whose bail hearing was stalled today because his lawyers within his own legal team couldn't reach an agreement on who was to lead counsel, and so he's been made to spend another weekend in detention. Our final story today is not too far off from what we're talking about when it comes to insecurity and all of that, because the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative has come out to warn that illicit mining activities, weak regulatory oversight, and criminal infiltration of mining communities are draining Nigeria's mineral wealth and undermining efforts to diversify the economy. This warning was contained in a statement they issued today. The Director of Communications and Stakeholders Management of NATI, Mrs. Obiagili Onwara, following the release of a policy brief, was speaking about how despite our vast deposits of gold, lithium, limestone, and gemstones, illicit financial flows continue to weaken the solid mineral sector through illegal mining, smuggling, tax evasion, corruption, and money laundering. She says the stark underperformance of our mineral sector is driven by all of these issues mentioned. And then the agency also noted that the mining sector contributed only 401 billion naira in revenue, which accounted for 0.72% of Nigeria's GDP, according to their 2023 industry audit report, despite our vast mineral resources. She mentioned also the fragmentation of regulatory oversight across institutions being a major reason why this continues. The institutions she mentioned where you have this regulatory oversight issue include the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development, the Mining Cadastre Office, NATI, Nigeria Customs Service, the NFIU, and relevant state agencies, as each institution collects sector-relevant data in silos, not as one unit. And when they have limited interoperability and there's no integrated sector-wide digital monitoring system, it makes it a reason. That's one of the reasons why you have this continue to happen. So just so that we're breaking it down and we're understanding this, we're looking at a sector that is plagued with systemic leakages. This happening while we're struggling with a debt servicing crisis and a revenue shortfall. And then you have this huge industry here where money just keeps filtering away from while we're focused on oil and all of that. So solid minerals like gold, lead, zinc, lithium are being smuggled out of the country on a daily basis. This means billions of dollars that could fund education, healthcare, and our national budget, all vanishing into the pockets of mining warlords and foreign syndicates. Unlike licensed operators, illicit miners do not follow environmental impacts assessments. So that's another downside of what they're doing. Communities that they are conducting these activities in are being left in the worst ways possible. You know, people within the communities dealing with the worst health challenges, contaminated water sources, the destruction of farmlands, ruining the livelihoods of these rural communities permanently. And so looking at the NATI's report, you are seeing a massive disparity also between what Nigeria records as mineral exports and what consumer countries like the UAE or China, who are importing from Nigeria, are recording. So they are recording more in terms of imports than we are recording as for our exports. So, brings us to the question, who are these powerful untouchables at our borders and our ports facilitating the exit of tons of unprocessed minerals without documentation? And how have we allowed this continue for the longest possible time? From the value chain, from the ministry where these licenses are given, to every other person in the value chain, all the way up to customs. Why have we not been able to get a handle on this thing? The Constitution, for example, places mining on the executive list. That's under federal control, yet the land belongs to the states. And so we've also seen a situation where over the years, this legal friction, if you will, continues to create a vacuum that illegal miners are exploiting. If we were to fix this, would that mean giving states more control over their minerals in their backyards to ensure better policing? Or are they just letting all of this happen because it's not under their control. And remember, this is very, very much tied, as the activities of illegal miners are very much tied into what is going on in terms of insecurity across all these states. So fixing insecurity, could it be reasonably fixed to an extent if we were to get a handle on this? And would that mean giving states more control? Or does this system that we're currently running, where it's under federal control based on the executive list, allowing for these things to continue to happen? We have a Solid Minerals Marshall Initiative. Yes, there is that. You think about that, and you think about the fact that security forces are not the presence of security forces are not translated into stopping this illegal activity that is going on. Are these marshals being compromised by the very syndicates they are meant to stop? Is another one of the questions. While NATO is focusing on the draining of our wealth and fueling of the insecurity, who do we place the responsibility on solely to ensure that the activities of these illegal miners and all the ripple effects that come from it can be checked once and for all, so that we're getting more money in terms of revenue in our coffers, and at the same time, the activities are put to an end, bringing a reasonable end to insecurity in this country? What are your thoughts on this? Let's talk. 0809-597-4869. On WhatsApp, 0809-993-0137. NATI has come out with a very, very dire report concerning the state of our solid minerals industry, where we are supposed to be making more and surviving for longer. It's affecting us otherwise. How do we fix this? Good afternoon. Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I want to talk on NATO report.
What's your name?
You see, my name is Adeola Victor from Jitalagi.
Go ahead, sir.
You see, we're in a country where corruption is the order of the day. People will continue to beat the system. Whether you appoint Mayor Marshal or you put officers who are also corrupt to monitor people who are also corrupt. So corruption plus corruption, it will be corruption. So you see, when we are society country, we will fight corruption. Now look at the billions and millions that we are losing. And at times, look at some of our farm products now. At times, they are rejected over abroad because a lot of shady deals at times are being, they say they are being rejected. We put chemical, we put everything. It's because of people want to make money and they are ready to destroy the name of this country. So it's very sad. Yeah? Let NATO try to do his best. NATO too, well, we don't know whether the people there, whether they can also fight the system. Because we are dealing with, in fact, I don't want to use some words that are not palatable on the hundred. In fact, we are dealing with people who are pathetic, people who are ready to bring down the name of this country. After we blame leaders. But the one we are doing now, these are people who are appointed to supervise, and also a corruption. At the end of the day, we blame the president, we blame the governor. But what did they do that? So, in fact, the problem we find ourselves in this country is not the leaders alone, but we the follower, because we are ready to destroy the system. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Madam Somi, well done.
Well done, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Mr. Somi from Airport Way.
All right, sir. Go ahead.
Like what you said on this thing that on your analysis that is there some people that are above the law that are too big to deal with. I want to tell you there are plenty of them, ranging from the presidency down to the last person in government. They manipulate all their resources and share it among themselves, putting us in a perpetual poverty. No good road, no light, no hospital, education, barbers. These are what is happening. Government knows about it. Corruption everywhere. It's just only God that will judge them. That's my own take. Thank you very much.
All right, then. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Auntie Somi.
Welcome.
Can you hear me, ma?
Loud and clear, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay, I'm Olatunji calling from Kubwa again.
Okay, very quickly, sir.
Okay, on this issue, sir, I want to say even there are no-go area. There are some no-go area for even the authority to charge, because you mentioned the custom, you mentioned all those things. So, for example, I want to say the state, you understand, ma? The state, the state has been like the hidden and be a place for that we have all this treasure, all these mineral resources, has been a place for all these banditry and our resources miner to be suitable for them. And which you mentioned about tax invasion and some other things. If you look, they are talking about how the federal government should stop borrowing. We have so many potentials of borrowing. Look at all these mineral resources you mentioned. So the state governors have potential of paying back this money, but because there is sabotage of this our mineral resources, there is tax invasion there, even in terms of insecurity, cannot allow some states to even look inward to generate in terms of mining the resources. Instead of that, it is by some foreign and some invaders. So, that is why I see even some communities are compromised. You can see for now, even for example, some communities that came up and say somebody has been representing them for 30 years. Where have they been? They are compromised.
All right.
It's somehow difficult for government to put eye or be in control of those mineral resources. That is why we will see the following. We don't need to borrow.
Okay.
We have potential by having these mineral resources to finance what we need to finance. So it is by sabotage and even state governors, they have allowed compromise and allowed this thing to escalate.
Thank you, Mr. Latunji. We have to leave it at that. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Yeah, please, I want to remain anonymous.
All right, go ahead, please.
Yeah, like what you just stated now, there's a place in Gwagwalada that there's illegal mining is taking place seriously. And then the local government chairman, the councillors, the so-called chief, nobody's doing anything concerning it. Even the police authority, most of them are aware of all of this. But then again, they don't want, because they are compromised, they don't want to do anything concerning it. And the thing is seriously eating up that place. And if time is not taken, it will bring a serious security challenge in that area. People are not doing anything. People are not speaking up. Serious mining is going around there. And people are just there, compromising, collecting money, and letting the whole thing go free like that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for sharing. I mean, when speaking about this, I can't help but come back to, yes, a lot of the illegal mining activities are being done by some of the, when you look at the artisanal miners, that's the people who actually go in to dig up for these minerals and all of that. A lot of them are impoverished members of communities who are just trying to make that extra how many K so that they can get by, which takes me back to the conversation around the untouchables, the people who they are doing this work for. And some foreign, what they call it now, some foreign nationals from other countries have been what they call it now, mentioned when it comes to these illegal mining activities, which takes us back to who is licensing them, who's letting them come in, what is the role of the state governor in all of this, and would the state governor take any responsibility when it comes to this, seeing as the federal the exclusive lists sort of makes them not the owners of these minerals directly. There is all of that happening there, and it's quite the mess. But the one thing is that we do know is this: yes, it might start out as small and illegal mining, but a lot of these activities are sustained by criminal elements who are either acting as protectors of these sites, or or they're just on their own owners of these sites, and they're just filtering away our national wealth. And so the federal government needs to take a very, very critical look into this matter. When you're talking about insecurity, sometimes it sounds a little too broad and a little too out of reach. Yes, there are different faces to it, as one of the callers likes to say. It's hydra-headed. There are the bandits and the way they conduct their own activities. There are the ideologists who maybe started out as political thugs, became ideologists, and at the end of the day, everybody now is just fighting to drain Nigeria of its wealth, and lives are being lost in the process. So beyond the revenue part, which is also critical for us as a country, and the native report should really and truly be looked into if we have a government that really cares, because the ministries have a role to play. The ministry responsible for these solid minerals, they have a role to play in ensuring that this thing is checked to a large extent. And then you take it all the way down, and then you see just how much more better off as a country we will be if we're paying attention to that specific area. It is honestly, when you are looking at the ripple effects of illicit mining and illegal mining in Nigeria, is beyond the revenue that we're making. You are looking at lives that are being lost, or lives that are being threatened on a daily basis because of the activities that these people do and what they leave behind in this community. So it's a much broader discussion than we are even having here. And I hope that the federal government is paying attention and they are looking into it, if not for anything, for the lives of the Nigerians who are suffering as a result of these activities, since they are looking to other areas to generate more revenue. All right. Let's see. Shola from Gwagwalada says, good afternoon, Somi. The man that spoke about illegal mining in Gwagwalada, no bilayo. Soldiers collect their share from them. I'm sure police and others do the same. Until we elect and appoint representatives of quality, character, and values, it will continue. Nigeria will continue to toll this path until money is not the reason for service, leadership, and so on. All right. She's asking if the debate will be live on Nigeria Info next week, Friday. I don't know. Are you talking about the town hall? If you mean the town hall, yes, live by 3 p.m. on Friday. So, good afternoon, Mike from Abuja. When we continuously borrow from China, they have taken over many of our mineral resources. Some of them own quarry sites, and many other minerals are found in those quarry sites. They have taken over some communities, and they use insecurity to displace the people. Mike is saying the 200 U.S. foot soldiers are unaccounted for. These guys explore mineral resources, then cause more insecurity to displace the people while they mine. Corruption is endemic in this country. They pay the chiefs and some people who are in charge peanuts and maltreat Nigerians who mine for them. Right-thinking leaders are needed to stop this menace, not this present administration. Where is Dele Alake? He has been silent for over a year plus now. That's Mike asking. Good afternoon.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon.
Yes, please.
Thank you. My name is Abdul calling from Maitama.
All right.
Illegality of mineral resources in Nigeria is not a thing of today or yesterday. It's been happening since 1999 that we start practicing democracy. As far as the authority are not going to do their own right, they know what to do. As far as there is a return, there is nothing is going to happen. Yes, everybody used to collect his return from those people that getting the mineral. In a place where there is money that involved. They cannot just go there and start doing things perfect without consulting the community leaders, the traditional rulers, and whatsoever before they started. And when the security come there, they will ask who is the organ of the security people. They will give their return. As far as we are not going to go away with the corruption, let me give you an example, even within the city of federal capital, Abuja. There is a time of former minister that say he don't wanted to see any Okada person flying the road of Abuja. And that didn't work because he knows he has to go patrol and see with his eye if those authority, those people that work in the FCDA and the task force that he said, they are not doing their own work.
Okay.
They will face the consequences of the law.
All right.
That is the reason why if you go everywhere now, Okada are flying.
Okay.
They are picking passengers. Do you know what the people they are picking? Dropping them in different junctions. When some problem happens, they will say, how come? They know. They are giving their return. That's why they are flying on the road of Abuja.
All right, we have to leave it there, Abdul. We've got guests joining us by 4:30, so I need to wrap up on the big three right now. Hi, Somi. We shouldn't keep wasting resources debating the bombings. By now, Nigerians know there will be casualties in the war against terrorism. The responsibility now lies with the Nigerian state to step up, take ownership, and do what's right for the victims. We all want the same thing, an end to terrorism without sacrificing innocent lives. Trians Magana on Facebook with that message. And this one here says, my opinion is this. This is Ibrahim from Airport Road. He said, in war situations, there are casualties. At this stage, we can say that Nigeria is in a war situation with terrorism and banditry, and it requires whatever measures the military takes to fight the war. Therefore, if the intelligence of the Air Force says it's a terrorist hideout, then they are correct and their action is justified. Let's look at the situation from the military point of view for once, then we will understand. These terrorists do mix up with communities, thereby using the communities as shield. And I think I can take Tankology's message. He says, I know that market very well, more than 3 years. It's the bandit and ISWAP market. That's where they used to buy their foodstuff and their wares. And I think that's it. I can't take any more messages right now. Thank you so much. We continue with Hard Facts after our time with the guest from 4:30 to 5 p.m. Stay with us.